Hello and welcome. I am Roy at Ninjazola90, and today I will be reviewing the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2014 Hiya version. And so far, my thoughts on this figure are quite positive. I am very impressed with this figure over the original release, although by far this figure still isn't quite perfect, but I still feel like it's still good for what it is, and that's what I am here to go over today. So with that said, let's get started. And now, starting things off with the box, because we have to talk about really cool, awesome boxes on this channel when we have them, because unfortunately I do not have the room to keep them. But anyway, front and center, you can see a really cool, awesome picture of the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2014 Heat Ray version right there, standing over the city of San Francisco, because that's where the battle takes place in the movie. Well, the battle with the Mutos, of course. And we can see his dorsal spines are lit a very bright sapphire blue, looking very fearsome and awesome indeed. And of course, we can see at the top right corner of the box, we have Exquisite Basic Godzilla Heat Ray Godzilla translucent version. I don't know why they wrote it like that, but they did for some reason. But I'll just simplify it. It's the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2014 Heat Ray version, and that's what they should have just put on the label, but obviously they didn't do that. But anyway, we have at the top left corner, we have the Toho logo, we have the Legendary Pictures logo, and we have the Monsterverse logo, of course. And the bottom left, we have a warning. We have a warning label: choking hazard, small parts, not for children under 3. And we have ages 18 plus. Basically, letting you know that don't mistake this figure for a Snickers bar or chicken McNuggets and try to eat it, because it's not going to go over so well in your stomach. That's obvious, and I hope and pray everybody knows better. But anyway, we have the Hiya Toys logo right there at the bottom right corner. Very N64 inspired, if you ask me, because for some reason, I don't know why, but the Hiya Toys logo just makes me think of the Nintendo 64 logo for some reason. And the right side of the box, we have Heat Ray Godzilla translucent version, and we have a picture of the figure right there. And the other side says pretty much the same thing, and we have a different picture of the figure. Back of the box, we have produced by Hiya Toys Company Limited. A bunch of information. We have their email, if you want to email Hiya Toys, and we have their website, and we have all the social media platforms that you can find Hiya Toys on, and we have the Toho logo, Legendary Pictures logo, and the Monsterverse logo yet again. Warning label written in Chinese, and some more information written in Chinese. I want everybody to read that for me. I know. I'm joking. And moving right along, we have a really cool picture of the figure right there. And, we have the Godzilla 2014 movie title logo yet again. And we have a barcode, which nobody cares about, and we have a QR code. I believe that takes you to the Hiya Toys website, I think. But anyway, that pretty much concludes it for the box. Now on to the figure. And now here we have the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2014 Heat Ray version, and all of his atomic heat ray, king of the monsters glory. Yeah, I said that, but as you can see, this is a well sculpted, well detailed figure made by the super cool, awesome people at Hiya Toys, of course. First things first, to get one big difference with the original release out of the way, and yes, I will do a figure comparison in a different video. He is a darker color scheme than the original release, but however, though a lot of the tooling I've noticed with this figure has been improved, especially with the tail. The tail's not falling apart nearly as much as what it did on the original release, which I did have to modify the tail on mine for the original release, because yeah, that tip of the tail kept falling off, and yeah, I had to literally super glue it on. So yeah, that just kind of defeated the purpose of that articulation cut. And also another problem I had with the original release is the hands that came out of the box on the original release on mine. And it's also one of the closed fist hands, and I had to put mine with like two different hands because yeah, I had issues with the hands falling off on the original release. If you just touch them slightly, that's not a problem on the Heat Ray version. So that's something that Hiya Toys has definitely fixed and has definitely improved on. Although I would have to say the only problem I've had with this figure that I feel like they didn't correct over the original release, and I think maybe they didn't because the head is meant to be interchangeable for the Heat Ray, is the fact if you try to turn the head all the way around a full 360, it pops off like nothing. So that's just something to be mindful of. But other than that, I still think this is a well worth it figure. I really like the detail, really like the articulation. I really like how they improve the tooling with the tail and how that stays together a lot better. And overall, this is definitely a vast improvement over the original, except for that, you know, that ball joint in the head that just seems to pop off like nobody's business. But other than that, detail is really good and articulation is really good. You could see all the bumps, scales, and ridges all over the Godzilla 2014's body there, looking really nice. You see all the folds in his skin and in his tail. We do see the gills in his neck if we bring him up closely. So we do have that. Also, the dorsal spines are well detailed. I really like how they did the dorsal spines. With the I would say there's some hints of silver with some sapphire blue and some blackish, maybe like black and navy blue at the tips. I really feel like it brings it out well, and they made a good choice when it came to paint applications, especially for the heat ray effect. He does look pretty supercharged and ready to do battle, and that's what I like. This is a really cool figure. And also, if you do look at this figure closely and hold it up to the light, it is sculpted out of translucent material, so that's also really cool. So that does help the light reflect off the dorsal spines and help them shine a little bit. But you know, you have to really like shine a light in there to really see it. But anyway, bringing him up closer, you can see his face. The only thing I would say the downside with detail over the original is, since this is a darker paint scheme, it's a little bit harder to see his eyes, but his eyes are there and they do look really nice. And I actually like the way they are sculpted and painted, but like I said, due to the darker paint scheme, they're a little bit more harder to see and they don't stand out as much as what they do on the original release. But other than that, I do think this figure is a vast improvement. And by that I mean in articulation, not just detail. As far as articulation, the jaw is on a hinge, so he can open and close that jaw of his, so we can open the mouth. We do have an articulated tongue in there, so if I could bring it down. Might be a little difficult to bring that tongue down because it just clipped my nails, but there it is, and you can see that beautiful pink membrane inside of his mouth as well. So just showing you that on both sides. Teeth are individually sculpted, although they are really tiny. They are noticeable. And also the neck, if you remove the head, this is basically three different like sleeves you slip over the ball joint on the neck. So we have the large one that goes on the bottom of the neck. We have this one, which is obviously in the middle, and the small one goes at the top. And then you just put the head back on like so, just to show you how the articulation in the neck joint is comprised. And also, we can move the neck, well, with the head forward and back and side to side a little bit. Although, like I said, if we do try to cranium revolvus, that head is going to pop clean off. So, yeah, that's probably not advised. It stays on pretty firmly. I'd say even a little bit better than the original release, as long as you don't try to rotate it. But if you do try to rotate it, it does pop off. That's the only thing I'm taking points off for. But other than that, like I said, vast improvement over the original release. Waist articulation, we do have an ab crunch, so we can bring this figure down forward like so, and then bring him back up. And we can rock side to side like so a little bit if we want to. And of course, we can do a full 360 rotation if we choose to. And of course, the opposite way, and his head just fell off. Well, I'll put that back on afterwards. So yeah, we do have that. And yeah, that's why I said you do have to be really careful with the head on this one. It does like to pop off if you turn it, so do be careful. And of course, his shoulders are on ball joints, so we can bring those shoulders out about that much. Not a whole lot, but we do have a good decent range of motion, and we can rotate those arms all the way around a full 360. And of course, the opposite way, same is true with the other arm, of course, so we can rotate that arm all the way around the opposite way. And of course, we do have a bicep swivels in both arms, so that is a very welcome improvement with the Hiya Toys line, because their original releases, well, their first wave of Godzilla figures didn't have bicep swivels, and these do, so that is definitely welcome there. And of course, we do have a double joint at the elbow, so we can bend those elbows all the way forward and back. We do have a swivel in the forearm, so we can swivel his forearm all the way around, full 360 like so. We also have a ball joint in the wrist, so we can rock those hands forward and back and swivel them all the way around a full 360 like so. And as you can see, unlike the original release, they are not falling off, so that's definitely good to see. Hips on this figure, the hip joints are really good. We can rotate them all the way around a full 360 like so. Well, maybe not all the way around. Well, yeah, we can rotate them all the way around, although they get stuck, so do be careful. Well, but we do have a full 360 rotation there, and the opposite way, of course. Of course, we can do the same thing with the other leg, although it's a bit stiff at first, but it's doable. So we do have that. We can split out slightly and bring them back in. We have a double joint at the knees, so we can bend those knees all the way forward and back again. And we also have a swivel in his lower leg. We have a swivel in his shin there, so we can swivel Godzilla's shins, even though this is not Shin Godzilla. Yeah, that was a pun, but anyway, we do have ankle rotation, so we can rotate those ankles all the way around full 360 and rock them forward and back. Same is true with the other foot, as you can see. Really nice ball joints there. And I would have to say his feet are well sculpted. And now moving right along to the tail, and this is one of the more satisfying portions to this figure. Like I said, the tail is a vast improvement over the original release. It stays together really well, so we can bend the tail this far to the left, bend it this far to the right. We can put him in a swimming pose like so. So let's put Godzilla in the best swimming pose I could put this one in, without the head coming off, of course, because that's my only negative pet peeve with this figure. But anyway, as you can see, we can get some very fluid swimming motions out of this figure. Looking really nice. I like it. I like it a lot. And of course, let us not forget the accessories that this figure comes with. Of course, he comes with 2 interchangeable hands. We have some closed fist gripping hands. I won't be changing these out on camera, but you can. It just, you got to heat the hands up and you got to put them in, and it's just really hard to do without heating them up with a hairdryer or putting them in warm water. So I'm just not going to do that right now. But anyway, there they are, just to let you know what he comes with. And of course, we have a swappable head with the open mouth that is fixed open to put the heat ray in. Although I would probably prefer the heat ray to be more like the 1991 Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah figure, where you could just slip the heat ray in the mouth and it just pegs in there. But this basically pegs into the swappable head like so you can fire off that heat ray. But the one thing I don't like about the swappable head without the heat ray is, yeah, it doesn't have any sculpted in teeth, and yeah, it just makes you think of Grandpa without his dentures. So that's why I just don't like the fact that they didn't sculpt teeth in it. But I understand it's for the heat ray to slip in and to make it easier. But anyway, in order to do this, what you want to do is, the easiest way is to put the heat ray in the swappable head first, and just take this head off and just put this in, and then there you have it. The Godzilla 2014, well, the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2014 heat ray version with the heat ray attached, of course. And yeah, there's a problem with this one. When you have the heat ray attached, yeah, the head, yeah, it doesn't want to stay on very well. So let's take that heat ray out. Let's put that head back on. Ball joint kind of went way in there, so gotta bring that ball joint back out. Alrighty, I see what happened. Alright, gotta bring it down. It's very fidgety when you're trying to get the heat ray in. Well, with mine anyway. But anyway, let me put I'll tell you what, I'm gonna just put the base head back on and be done with it. There. That's better. Yeah, as you can see, due to the looseness of the ball joint on the neck there. The head that attaches for the heat ray doesn't really stay on all that well when you have the heat ray attached. So yeah, that is a downside because it's called the heat ray version. It looks like you could barely even use the heat ray with this figure, but still in all, other than that, my thoughts on this figure is quite positive. And if you want to use a heat ray with this figure that's not going to cause the head to fall off, you know, you can use your heat rays that come with your SH Monster Arts figures and just use it to machination stand, and that's just not going to be a problem. But anyway, if I have to give this figure a final score based on detail, articulation, and playability, I have to give them a drum roll, please. And when it comes to detail, articulation, and playability, I have to give this figure a fair but square. Like I said, not quite perfect, but still well-deserved, highly recommended, 9 out of 10. Why? Like I said, I think this figure is a vast improvement over the original. Like I said, especially with tail articulation, because, yeah, I can pick them up, hold them by the tip of the tail and do that, and nothing's coming off. If I did that with the original release without modifications, yeah, that tail would just, tip of the tail would just pop clean off. So, yeah, vast improvements. Definitely also with the hands staying on a lot better. Although, like I said, that that ball joint on the head could have been better, and that socket could have been a little bit better because it does come off way too easily. But other than that, I think it's a well recommended figure to pretty much any Godzilla fan that's looking for a really good, highly detailed Godzilla 2014 figure. You could get this one from Big Bad Toy Store.com. It's around the $50 range, so if you want to grab this one, the link will be in the description. So with that said, as always, thank you guys all so much for watching. Your viewership is much appreciated. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And to wrap it all up, stay safe, take care, God bless, stay positive, stay powered up, and peace out.